This episode is brought to you by Babysitter Massacre, Daddy's Little Killer, available on Amazon.com in ebook, paperback, and audiobook. A good babysitter is hard to find, especially when they're all dead. Larkin's first night with the Babysitters Club has her filling in for a friend that's blowing off work for a hot date. The simple little lie will have dire consequences that trigger a series of unthinkable events and spurs a killer's need for revenge. With the bodies and suspects stacking up, can Larkin unmask the Kohler slasher? Or will she become another victim of Daddy's Little Killer? From the twisted mind of Weekly Spooky writer David O'Hanlon comes the first book in the Babysitter Massacre franchise series created by me. So check it out right now, Babysitter Massacre, Daddy's Little Killer, available on ebook, paperback, and now audiobook at Amazon.com.
What's that? You want to be scared? Come with me. You will experience tales of horror, ghosts, and death. It is not recommended for the weak at heart. Listen in the dark. It's more fun that way. This is Weekly Spooky.
Hello, I'm Henrik Kuto, your host and narrator, and thank you for joining me for another piece of spooky on the Weekly. It's Wednesday, and that means we have another piece of fear to share with you. But real quick before we get to that, I just want to mention, if you love the show, if you enjoy listening every Wednesday to a brand new piece of scary content, please go to WeeklySpooky.com and give it a look and throw us a little support, even if it's just an email saying a job well done or sharing your very own scary story. We appreciate it, and of course, we especially appreciate those who support us on Patreon, which you can find all of that information at WeeklySpooky.com and get access to the brand new podcast, Behind the Spooky, which shows you a little bit of what we do here at the show, how we make it, and who we are, myself, the producers, the composers, and the authors. So check it out at WeeklySpooky.com, and thank you so much for all the support. But this week's story is extra special. It was submitted by a listener, and I thank you very much. And it's a story, let's say, for the kids. It's not a children's story, but kids often think they have a monopoly on mischief, that they have some kind of a special power for doing things that are devious. But tonight on the story, a young man may have met his match, because sometimes an old man still has a few tricks up his sleeve. So enjoy the story, and afterward I'll be here to hang out with you. But for now, let's listen. Old Jerry by RT Raynaud. Great. Another broken blade. Goddamn Sawzall. This Japanese piece of shit just isn't built for hard work. Or is it Chinese? I don't know. It's one of those Oriental countries. I mean, if you're using it in an air-conditioned, perfectly ventilated workshop a month after you bought it, and all you're cutting is 5/8-inch plywood, it'll work great. But I swear, the moment you take it outside, or it gets dirty, or what you're cutting is a little messy, you spend more time on saw repair than you do actually sawing. Maybe I'm being too hard on it. I'm pretty sure that bone isn't something the saw was designed to cut. No, fuck that. This thing is designed to cut through aluminum. Bone shouldn't be a problem. I should have just paid a little extra for an American-made one. Fucker, fine. There, new blade. You happy, saw? Can we please finish this before sunrise? I still have a hole to dig. Relax, Jerry. Breathe. Just a little bit more work and you'll never have to see this kid's smug little fucking face again. At least he'll never egg your house again on Halloween. I bet this was the little shit who's been doing it every year. Without fail, each November 1st is spent cleaning rotting egg off of my stucco, or toilet paper out of my tree, or a smashed pumpkin off of my porch. I have been vowing for years to catch the fuckface who kept doing it. And I did, didn't I, you little bastard? You thought that you could get away with it again this year, huh? You thought, well, I'm just gonna pick on old Jerry just minding his own business. You didn't count on the fact that I was watching this year, that I saw your little devil costume throwing that egg with your friends Dracula, Zombie, and Skeleton cheering you on, that I would recognize your stupid little costume when you walked up to my door alone, asking for candy. Kind of a bonehead move when you think about it. Everyone knows that when you're trick-or-treating, you walk up to the door, knock, ask for candy, get candy, and go on to the next house. It's called trick-or-treating for a reason, you know. It's in the disjunctive. You do one or the other, not both. That would be trick and treating, moron. Even if it wasn't just plain illogical, if you're going to do both, you should do the trick after you've already gotten the candy. Duh. And you're never supposed to go into the person's house, particularly when you don't know them. Particularly if you've already egged the house because you're a cock-sucking asshole kid with no sense of decency. Particularly when you've been fucking with old Jerry for years already. You weren't the sharpest crayon in the box, were you, Chief? Oh shit. See? That's exactly what I'm talking about. You'd think a saw could cut through some viscera without getting all jammed up, but no! Ugh. Blood's all over the place now. Fuck, it's in my goddamn eye. Hold on, this shit stings. Even in death, you're giving me crap. Alright, it's settled. I need a new saw. When this is all over, I'm gonna dump this fucker in the hole with you, bud. You know, honestly, I wasn't expecting the welcome to my haunted house line to work. Most kids probably would have politely declined. It was the obvious play. Admittedly, I hadn't expected you to have the balls to actually walk up to my house. I didn't have the time to think of a really creative way to lure you in. I was in the middle of cursing myself for my unpreparedness when you said, "Thanks, mister," and waltzed through my front door like you owned the fucking place. You fell for my ruse hook, line, and sinker, complete with stupid smile across your chubby idiot face. I had such a hard time restraining my joy as I marched you through the house, towards the kitchen. I probably could have done without that snide comment you made about how my home looked more like a haunted crack house. Yeah, I get it. I live by myself, and I wasn't expecting guests. It's as clean as I mind it, but it probably couldn't hurt to dust and mop more regularly. Now that I'm reflecting on it, the condition of my house probably helped sell the half-baked scheme in the first place. But who the fuck are you, anyway? You're just some idiot kid. What the hell do you know about interior decoration? You probably have a fucking video game poster on the wall in your room. Classless fucking asshole. And the comment about the insects on the dishes in the kitchen sink. Apparently you're too good to eat bugs. I mean, it's food that walks right up to you. You'll eat whatever the hell nougat is, but if it has a thorax, all of a sudden it's too gross for you. Bourgeois bitch. I swear, some people have no vision. But you know what I regret? I regret not having a video camera set up to capture your face when you turned to me and said, "This is a pretty lame haunted house." You were expecting to see me disappointed at the bad review. I could see it in your eyes, in your shit-eating grin. You wanted to ruin my night, to inflict psychic torment on who you thought was a poor, earnest haunted house proprietor with your dissatisfied customer routine. I mean, I know it was just a ploy to get you in the house, but I was offering you a free haunted house tour, gratis. As far as you knew, it would cost you nothing. Despite this, nothing would have given you more pleasure than to see old Jerry's feelings hurt. It's just sadistic when you think about it. You relished the opportunity to be an asshole, right up until the moment I cracked you in the forehead with the hammer you never noticed me holding. If we're being entirely honest, I hit you too hard. I wanted you to know what was happening before I turned your lights out. I wasn't going for a scream of terror or anything like that, but if I had my druthers, no, please stop. Would have been nice to hear you say before the end. To be fair, blunt force head trauma is more of an art than a science, and it's not like I do this very often. To kids your age, anyway. As was, you dropped limp without a sound, but ooh boy, it was still pretty sweet. I'm getting chills just thinking about it again. I knew I had to hit you again to make sure the deed was done, if only to make sure you couldn't surprise me and get away when I turned my back. I've been down this road too many times to not know that one should never underestimate the resiliency of the human body. Afterwards, I dragged you over to the basement door and pushed you down the stairs. There was no way for you to somehow magically escape from down there. I suppose I may have been being too cautius, but these are the kinds of lessons experience teaches you, I suppose. That's the difference between old Jerry and other people. I like redundancies. But my worries were needless. You landed at the bottom with a dull flop, eyes open and dilated. You were clearly dead. Your blood droplets splattered all over my basement stairwell. Oh, remind me later to get to the pharmacy to pick up some hydrogen peroxide to clean all this up. Then came step 2 of my plan. I cut you up into little pieces so that I could properly dispose of you. I mean, of course I kept the tastiest parts of you for dinner this week. But my refrigerator is only so large. Eventually, the rest of you'd start stinking. Eventually, the smell would draw notice. Best just to dump you in a shallow grave and be done with you. I had just been hoping that the disposal part of this process hadn't been so taxing. If only this saw would cooperate. I mean, look at me. I'm covered in your blood. Old Jerry looks like he's been... well, like he's been in a basement, cutting up a body all night. No? Well, I thought it was funny. Being splattered with your blood does make for a pretty convincing Halloween costume, at least. When all's said and done, kiddo, you're actually pretty easy to talk to. Don't get me wrong. I still think you're a prick. But I haven't had this much human interaction in months. Ever since that psychologist lady told me to stop coming by. Man, now that is a story. You see, the court ordered me to see a shrink a couple of times a week, but one week she forgot to give me my prescription. I ran out over the weekend, but her office didn't open until Monday. So I did some researching to find where she lived and went to her house. Shh. Do you hear something? I think I just heard a knock on the front door. Hold on. Let me go see. Hey, wouldn't you know, your friends Dracula, Zombie, and Skeleton are here. They look a little worried, perhaps here to check on you. Now I see why you were so bold in coming up to my house. This was all just some bit. You must have thought your friends had your back if anything went wrong. Maybe you should have stuck with the plan and only asked for candy. Who's the joke on now, bitch? They sure did take their time coming to your rescue, didn't they? No doubt the product of an extended debate about whether to go tell someone and risk getting in trouble for tonight's hijinks. I really have to question your friend's wisdom in approaching the same house you didn't come out of. You really picked some idiot friends. Seriously, what the hell are they teaching you kids about the mechanics of trick-or-treating these days? Like I said, go up to the house, get candy, leave, approach next house, repeat. None of this is rocket science. But I suppose they still are witnesses who can link you back to me, and I really don't want the police sniffing around here. Way too much for them to find. Hoo-wee! They'd bury old Jerry under the jail if they found half the shit I have down here. A few too many skeletons in the closet, and in the crawl space, and under the floorboards, and in the backyard. Do you think they'll fall for the same haunted house ruse you did? I mean, you did give me a great costume. How's about it, Hoss? You in the mood for some company? Yeah? Well, then we're agreed. Let me go get my hammer. Oh, fuck. The goddamn saw. How the hell am I going to cut up 3 more of you with this thing? So remember, Weekly Spooky listeners, keep your tools in proper working order. Maintenance is the key to a happy and healthy... I couldn't even do it with a straight face. Thank you so much for sending that story in. Friends, remember, he sent his story in to weeklyspooky@gmail.com. We gave it a read, myself and producer Dan did, and we really liked it, and we hope you did too. It was just the right amount of creepy, just the right amount of eerie, and just the right amount of fun to perform. I had a great time performing that character, and I hope you enjoyed listening to it. And if you head on over to weeklyspooky.com, not only can you find all of the episodes of the podcast that we have ever published, as well as t-shirts, hats, other fun items that help us keep the show going, and you can send us an email. Let us know what scares you, what you have fun listening to, or better yet, much like the story today, send us a little piece of fear you've written and we may just read it on the show. Also, you can join our Patreon and get exclusive podcast episodes as well as much more. And I want to send a special shout out to our podcast boosters, Michael, aka Sharm, Karen Weemet, Jeff and George Hilton, Craig Cohen, Rob Fields, and Kevin Fry. Thank you all for helping us keep the spooky going every single week. All right, my friends. I'm about to get out of here, but I want to say a huge thank you for listening this week, and I can't wait to see you next Wednesday because scaring is caring, and we could all use a little more caring right about now, and I don't think I'm alone in that. So for myself, for my producer Dan Wilder, for my composer Ray Mattis, I say, I will talk at you later.
Thank you for listening. Make sure to find your way back next week. But for now, you are safe. Trust me.